prioritize houses for the low income and medium income areas.
Address in this beautiful city of Abuja on the occasion of the 15th Housing Show with theme Sustainable and Resilient Housing Solutions for a Post-COVID World. I must once again commend Barrister Festus and his team for sustaining this show and bringing major stakeholders together. You will agree with me that globally, the year 2020 began on a very optimistic note with a forecast GDP growth rate of 2.4% back home in Ghana within the first quarter. Because I gave a very nice secret about myself, I forgot to stand by the existing protocols. So I stand by the existing protocols. Thank you. The COVID-19 global pandemic has had an unprecedented impact on all facets of our macroeconomic trends, including our human settlements, social housing, and affordable housing projects. But we are very optimistic of these great opportunities to building partnerships on slum upgrading, infilling, redevelopment, and delivering decent, safe, affordable housing. The economic crisis sparked by the pandemic and the great lockdown negatively impacted global economic growth beyond anything experienced in nearly a century. Large quarantines, travel restrictions, and social distancing measures resulted in a sharp fall in consumer and business spending, leading to a global recession with a GDP rate estimated to have contracted by an average of 4.5%. African economies were severely impacted, and the construction industry globally was not left out. The impact of COVID-19 has been more profound for the urban poor and vulnerable in society. These high-risk groups mostly live in overcrowded, high-density informal settlements with inadequate social and hygiene infrastructural facilities. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellencies, in these devastating times, the current living conditions in these informal settlements and slum areas are likely to potentially increase the risk of infection of the virus within and across these settlements. The pandemic has exacerbated our housing problems and shown us the cracks in the current system and has pointed a glaring spotlight on the overarching importance of the housing subsector to promoting health and sustainable livelihood in the sub-region. COVID-19 reinforces the crucial importance of our national government's mission of building a movement that improves the life chances of several millions of people in our urban communities. A social housing scheme for the disadvantaged is now a categorical imperative and must find some finance space for that. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, affordable housing has not been sidelined, but is the most comprehensive and sustainable humanitarian response we have in the face of the current pandemic. And future public health catastrophes must be a foundation and must be part of our post-corona economic recovery plan. Investing in the widespread construction of decent, affordable housing needs to be a top priority now more than ever for our countries. It is obvious that investing in affordable housing solutions delivers on many fronts for healthcare, pandemic protection, and prosperity. The provision of affordable and decent housing for the middle and low-income segments of the population remains a challenge. In fact, ensuring access to adequate, safe, and affordable housing is an important part of SDG 11, which commits the global community, including Ghana, to creating sustainable cities that are inclusive, safe, and resilient. Your Excellencies, responding to economic contraction with the construction of environment-smart, affordable housing will drive macroeconomic growth, stimulate job creation and financial sector deepening, and enable thousands of Africans to escape the poverty cycle. The collective responsibility for us in the construction industry must be to support those on low incomes for the benefit of our citizens. The construction industry is often argued to be unique in its multiplicity of stakeholders, transient organizational structures, avoidance of risk and impact on society. Most governmental institutions on environment, and I'm happy our Minister of Environment spoke highly about climate change, have recognized construction as a sector in which significant progress and potential for improvement can, and indeed, must be made in terms of both sustainability and resilience to the changing environment. A significant proportion of construction materials for the housing sector are imported from foreign countries such as China, Turkey, Italy, just to mention a few. And these countries are amongst the hardest hit in the case of the pandemic. Although the industry in China has commenced production, the closed borders and travel restrictions globally means that it will take some considerable period before stockpiling of materials on site will reach normalcy as it stands now. It can be projected that this could take quite some time before it could be achieved. The situation, therefore, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, presents itself as an opportunity for participating states to capitalize on supporting alternative local manufacturing industries to bridge the supply gap. And our governments must integrate measures to boost local production of building materials. We need to be innovative and tap into the alternative local building materials, deepening on the dynamics in our various countries and communities. And I would like to say that Ghana has taken up the challenge. The ministry has taken it upon ourselves to explore into the use of local materials within our communities, depending on the dynamics in the various communities. In my community, for instance, we have a lot of clay deposits. So we are exploring into the use of bricks for the housing industry. We are looking at using laterites. Our forefathers used laterite. A 90-year-old house still stands firm. So right now, the Real Estate Development Agency in Ghana are exploring into the use of using laterites. And some are mixing laterite with some bits of cement and quarry dust and molding them into blocks. We are trying as much as possible to bring down the cost of building within the industry. And I would like to remind participants at this Congress that Africa is culturally, socially, and economically diverse, but our problems and needs are equally diverse. However, we have gathered here for the next few days to discuss how to address our common challenges. I believe the challenges in Abuja or Nigeria is not too different from what we are going through in Ghana. As team leaders in the built environment fraternity, we will have to be proactive and partner with our various governments to find lasting solutions to these challenges. Making our cities more resilient to environmental changes and natural disasters, and in the process helping them to improve their social and economic resilience is a major challenge of our time. A large and complicated aspect of urban resilience is the way to go. Building affordable housing at scale represents an untapped marketplace, and the opportunity that this presents will be of even more value to recovering post-COVID economies. Well-planned cities can facilitate economic growth and sustainable economic development. It is very encouraging to see the enthusiasm and participation of all present as ambassadors, willing to share our experiences and with the adversity of financing products for the benefit of all back home. My ministry is currently sourcing for land banks, a major resource in the housing industry, and providing housing and infrastructure which includes inner road networks, sewage, electricity, water, etc. I believe that we all have challenges with the acquisition of lands in our various countries. So the ministry has taken it upon ourselves to acquire land banks, because our investors keep on having challenges. Some lands are sold to multiple buyers, and before you get access to the land you have paid for, it takes a longer time and some resources have to be spent. So to avoid that, the ministry has taken it upon ourselves to acquire land banks across the country. And also go beyond that, have it serviced. We are still talking to the Ministry of Finance to support us, so they'll be able to provide on-site infrastructure, talking about roads, talking about sewage, talking about electricity, and all that, so they'll be able to bring down the cost of building. These service plots will be provided to investors for public-private partnership projects. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, research has proved that we can build decent sanitary homes at an average cost that will be affordable per house. Affordable homes are an asset that further proves and builds in resilience ahead of unanticipated crises, buffering families living on low incomes against sharp shocks. This is truly an opportunity to build back a better industry, and I believe a stronger August body, such as the one we have now, and our stakeholders, but to mention a few, can come together and definitely take up the task. At whichever capacity here, you have an opportunity to contribute to inclusive urbanization and leave a positive mark on the millions of people in the South region. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, at the just ended 40th annual general meeting of Shelter Africa in Cameroon, it came to light that about 56 billion of the urban infrastructure and housing deficit is needed by 44 member countries. Barrister Festus talked about the housing deficit. Back home in Ghana, we are battling with the 2 billion housing deficit. But I must say we haven't had any comprehensive research to really ascertain the numbers as we talk about. But fortunately for us back home, we are undertaking our population and housing census that I believe that at the end of the day we'll be able to come out with a concrete figure plus 5 minus 5. But as it stands now, we are battling with a housing deficit of 2 billion. I also believe that the outcome of this meeting will definitely translate into practical policies, programs, and projects in our respective countries. I would say safe and sanitary homes with running water, clean energy, and enough space is the future frontline defense against any future pandemic. While it is important to learn the best practices from elsewhere, context should not be lost on us. I therefore urge you to come out with solutions that are fit for purpose and allow us as a country to break the back of the housing finance problem. We must focus attention on land banks, identifying the challenges to financing affordable housing in Africa, and possibly policy instruments that can be improved to deliver affordable housing projects. A financial business model ways and means to support a strategic, coherent engagement between ministries of finance and housing. Public partnership is very crucial. A recurring concern, however, is is how to finance home ownership most efficiently and effectively. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, housing finance has thus become a topical issue amongst researchers, policymakers, and development partners. There is the urgent need to develop and implement more efficient ways to finance housing. In most countries, around mortgage financing is synonymous to housing finance. Construction finance for developers, mechanisms to reduce the cost of funds to ensure mortgage affordability should also be addressed. In the days ahead, Your Excellencies, we will continue to network and build partnerships and experience sharing on issues to address the housing challenge, urban poverty, especially in Africa. Let us strengthen our partnerships, upscale interventions, and leverage finance to ensure prosperity for all. With a special focus on women, our youth, and above all, commit to large-scale investment for inclusive economic prosperity and livelihood improvement. To conclude, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellencies, I once again thank you for this opportunity. I implore all of us to take cognizance of the closeness of the third wave of the pandemic. Let us continue to observe strict COVID protocols and find innovative ways of sustaining the momentum in the housing industry post-COVID. I once again want to remind you that we can tap into our local materials industry. We can support the housing industry in our various countries to grow, and we can all come together to build a safe, affordable housing for our member countries. Thank you for this opportunity.